Jay here from Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Tier 1 Transfer Podcast. And joining me is a friend of the channel who's been on a few times, Dharmesh Sheth from Sky Sports News. You've seen him all over Sky Sports, covering Manchester United and all the other Premier League clubs as well. Dharmesh, thanks for coming back on the channel.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Jay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different time that we've got you on this time round than last time we spoke.
Yeah.
Erik ten Hag's obviously taken over at Manchester United. Doing well in a good bit of form. What have you made of the job that Erik ten Hag's done at Old Trafford so far?
Fantastic. I think, you go to all the games, Jay. I'm sure you've noticed the difference in the atmosphere in the crowd. And I'm sure when you have conversations with fans, whereas before, like if you weren't sure about certain decisions, weren't sure about certain transfers, weren't sure about certain players playing certain positions, I think at the end of every conversation, you usually say, you know what, Erik ten Hag's decision, and we trust him. And I think that's been the massive difference this season, especially what happened in those first two games, because I think, a lot of United fans, probably not, it was a bit early to doubt Erik ten Hag, but there were worries there. I'm sure there were to lose the opening game at home to Brentford by 2-1 and then the debacle at Brentford 4-0. I think there were a lot of doubts, but I think United fans could see something happening with Ten Hag. And I think what he's done in particular with the Cristiano Ronaldo situation and the way he's handled that, I think has endeared himself even more to Manchester United fans. And I think, you know what? Ronaldo's come under a lot of criticism. And I think the main part of the criticism was, I think he tried to curry favour a little bit with that interview when he was talking about the owners and talking about investment and that kind of thing, which, a section of United fans will share those views. But as soon as he said, I don't respect the manager, I think the majority of United fans just went, hold on. You know what, Ronaldo, you've been a legend at Manchester United, but you can't say that. And that just illustrates how much the United fans have started to back Erik ten Hag. And it's shown in the results, particularly either side of the World Cup break. Since the World Cup break, 4 games in all competitions, is it?
Yeah.
4 wins, 4 clean sheets. And in a couple of those games, you've had a situation where Luke Shaw's played in central defence. Whereas, under a previous manager, potentially, you would have thought, my goodness, what is the manager doing? But there was almost that trust. No, he knows what he's doing. He probably sees Luke Shaw as the like-for-like replacement for Lisandro Martinez, and he wants to play in the same way. So this is how I'm going to approach it. And you can't argue with the results.
No, you certainly can't. No, and I agree with everything you're saying about the Ronaldo situation. Yep, he won me over when he started firing shots at the Glazers. I'm all about that. But when he went after Ten Hag, I didn't get that, and I didn't agree with it at all. One player, we talk about Luke Shaw sort of stepping up. One player who's really shone under Erik ten Hag is Marcus Rashford. Been in great form both before the World Cup and after the World Cup. Can you see him maintaining these levels? You've been covering him for quite a while at Sky. Do you think he's a player that can keep scoring these goals and getting the sort of numbers he's been getting?
I think so. And I think so under Erik ten Hag especially, because I think what people have started to notice, and in particular what I noticed in 2 of his goals that he scored, I hadn't seen that so much from Marcus Rashford in his United career before. The first one was the winner that he scored against West Ham, that header. I hadn't seen Rashford really score a goal like that before, where he absolutely attacked the ball. And the other one was one of his recent goals against Wolves, where he got into the box and he just shoved the Wolves defender out of the way. And he says, no, this is my ball. I'm going to score this goal. And what impressed me as well, and it ties in with Ten Hag, was how he handled the Marcus Rashford situation as well. Even though Marcus Rashford was the informed player for Manchester United going into that Wolves game, rules are rules as far as Erik ten Hag is concerned. And some people have said, oh, he left him on the bench, so he still had him in reserve. Well, let's look at what the actual punishment was. Did it fit the crime? Probably did. He was slightly late for a meeting. So he said, look, you're slightly late for a meeting. You've broken the rules. You're not going to start this game. You're going to be on the bench. So that was punishment. Is not enough as far as it was concerned. And I think United fans might have been a little bit worried. How is it going to be handled? How's the relationship between Ten Hag and Rashford? Rashford comes on, scores, and it was that shot at the end of the game, wasn't it, when they were embracing each other? And that, I think, says a lot about what Marcus Rashford is doing under this manager, and in particular those 2 goals. And I can see it continuing as long as he stays fit, because I think there is a mutual trust between manager and player here that maybe Marcus Rashford hasn't enjoyed under previous managers. Well, some of the previous managers. And if you look at the comparison between Rashford last season and this season, and I think you can say that with a lot of players and the club and the squad and the results, it is chalk and cheese. And I think with that in mind, it just looks like every time he goes on the pitch, he thinks he's going to score.
No, again, I couldn't agree more. And I like the fact that after the match, Marcus Rashford was pretty open about why he'd been dropped from the starting 11. And you could see he didn't blame Erik ten Hag. He said he sort of held his hands up. I was late for a meeting. Those are the rules. I broke them. It's fair enough. And I like that sort of the relationship those two have had. And like you're saying, he's scoring different types of goals. And it's just great to see, because I'm a big fan of Marcus Rashford. There was talk in the January transfer window, before January, that maybe we'd bring in Cody Gakpo. Obviously, that didn't happen. He went to Liverpool. What do you know about that transfer? Was he ever likely to come to Old Trafford? Because there's conflicting reports, some saying United really wanted him, he was going to come here, he chose Liverpool. Others saying that actually United didn't really sort of pursue that past the summer.
It makes for a great headline, doesn't it, Jay, when it says Liverpool have beaten Manchester United to Cody Gakpo. It's a headline writer's dream. I could only tell you the information that I've got, and this goes back to the summer. If you go back to the summer, at the start of the window, the number one priority was Antony from Ajax. That was the number one priority. Now, at that time, Manchester United weren't meeting the price that Ajax were charging for Antony. And I think Ajax, in an ideal scenario, wanted to get that deal done earlier on in the window so that they could have enough time to spend that money that United would give them to bring in a replacement. Now, once United decided at the start of that window, I don't think we want to meet that price that Ajax are charging just now, even though it ended up probably being United having to pay more at the end of the window, they decided at that time it wasn't for them. So, as any club would do, if your number one target is not available, you look at other options. You know, there was talk of Sasa Kalajdzic. There was also Benjamin Sesko and Cody Gakpo as well. Now, they, as far as I'm aware, were all backup options for Antony. Now, United did do due diligence on Cody Gakpo in the summer. There was talks between United and PSV Eindhoven, and there was a chance that potentially he could have joined in the summer. Now, the way the transfer window transpired, you'll remember, I mean, United fans will look back on it now and think, hey, you know what, it wasn't actually a bad window, considering the majority of the players that joined have all been a success at United. But with a couple of weeks to go, it felt like there was a little bit of worry amongst United fans, like, are we going to be signing any more players? Because at the time, I think it was Malacia Eriksson and Lisandro Martinez who had come through the door, and United was still needing players. United as well wanted to back Erik ten Hag. So towards the end of the window, when they started getting encouragement that Antony didn't want to play for Ajax anymore and was making it clear he wanted to make that move to United, Erik ten Hag said, look, we need to get this player because he is the number one choice. And Ajax, and they had every right to do that because it was so late in the window, decided to charge more. And that's why United ended up paying probably a little bit more than they would have done at the start of the window. So that's why the Gakpo transfer didn't happen in the summer. But it should be noted, it was always one of the backup options to Antony. Fast forward to January. Yes, Manchester United were looking at Cody Gakpo again. But the situation with United is this. The finances, even though they're a massive club, they will still impact a club like Manchester United. So back in the summer, you had a situation where United spent £230 million, which was over budget. Remember, back in the last couple of weeks, Antony, there was €100 million price on him and close to £70 million on Casemiro as well, which took United through budget. And I think they made the decision then that the January window was not going to be one where they were going to make huge outlays considering the amount that they'd spent in the summer. Now, we know that Ronaldo left, and that freed up a load of wages that they didn't have to pay Ronaldo for the rest of the season. However, they were still over budget from the summer. So it wasn't a case of, right, we've got all this money now from the Ronaldo leaving. it wasn't necessarily going to mean, right, United can go into the window and buy a player. The Gakpo situation was this. If you're going to spend 40 to 50 million pounds on Cody Gakpo in January, then the likelihood is that that would come out of the summer budget. Now, it's much publicized that Eric Ten Hag's number one priority is to bring in a number 9, an out-and-out number 9. Cody Gakpo, yes, has shown he can play there, but he can play on the wing as well. I think Ten Hag wants to go for an out-and-out number 9. Now, if Manchester United do have a long-term target in mind, there's talk of Osimhen from Napoli, who was never going to come in January anyway. But just say, for example, he's one of the primary targets and he costs, in excess of 80 million pounds. Imagine United had gone for Gakpo and bought him in January. That money would have come off the summer budget in the summer, and the number one priority then might not have been available to Eric Ten Hag because of how the finances had been split between the summer and the January transfer window. So it's very a big headline to say Liverpool beat United to Cody Gakpo. I don't think it's as black and white as that, and I don't think it tells the full story, because even though United were interested, both in the summer when it was a backup option and in January, but that was more to see if they could do a deal and still maintain enough money in their budget for the summer. I don't think it was going to be possible for them. So the outcome of it all is that United do still want to bring in a forward in this window, but it's more likely to be in the loan market rather than trying to bring in someone for big money, because it's always difficult, a January transfer window, to bring in a player, because the top players are usually with top clubs, usually in European football's biggest competition, the Champions League, and clubs are reluctant to sell mid-season. Add to that, if you're a club like Manchester United, you're a Premier League club, and you're buying from abroad, the eyes of the team that are selling just light up, because they know they can simply just add millions and millions of pounds to a price, and that won't be in the best interest of the buying club in the Premier League. So I think United might just take a step back with regard to long-term signings and wait until the summer to do that.
That makes a lot of sense. And to be honest with you, I thought that seemed the case. And like you say, it makes a good headline, United and Liverpool, and he chose Liverpool. But I did query how sort of strong the interest was and whether there was ever going to be a bid this window for him. You mentioned there about potential loan signings. One player, there's been a few, but one player that keeps popping up is João Felix from Atletico Madrid. Have you heard anything on that? Do you think that there is real interest from Manchester United in the player?
Jay, I think that he is one of the players that they looked at. There was also talk of Eric Choupo-Moting as well, but with regard to Moting, I was told that was agent-driven as it stands, that is. That was agent-driven, even though he's only got like 6 months left on his contract. The João Felix one is an interesting one, because this is being driven by Atletico Madrid, it seems, and the agent. Now, in principle, it would fit for United, because Atletico Madrid only want to do a loan. And you can see why they'd want to do that. He's got a contract until 2026. Just say Atletico Madrid decided to sell or even put an option price on João Felix now, when everybody knows that they do want to get him out of the club. That would only drive his price down. So I think Atletico Madrid want to take a calculated gamble here. Take him away from the club for 6 months, see if he performs really, really well. And if he does, he comes back to Atletico Madrid with 3 years left on his contract, and his market value remaining quite high, probably more than it is just now. The only issue for United with regard to João Felix, and it's why the information I've been given as it stands as well, it's early in the window still, that they aren't going to go for him, is simply because they can't afford the price that Atletico Madrid would be wanting for a 6-month loan. I'm being told it's around £19 million, including wages. £19 million for 6 months. It doesn't make sense for United as far as they're concerned. They would be interested in a player like João Felix, but not at the terms quoted. So, yes, there was an interest in him, and I'm sure it's just in the background a little bit. The information that I'm getting from sources in Portugal is that Arsenal are really pursuing the João Felix deal. They're trying to get Felix and Mykhailo Mudryk as well. With regard to United, I think they might be moving elsewhere to forward targets.
You say that about elsewhere. We've been linked with quite a few players. I think Thuram's been one that we've been linked with recently. Even Olivier Giroud pops up. That was a name that sort of surprised me a little bit. But yeah, do you see a loan move maybe for one of those players? Is that still on the horizon then, potentially for Eric Ten Hag?
Names wise, I'm still trying to find out the exact names on who United will be going for. The Felix one and the Moting one have both been mentioned to me, and both kind of been batted down by sources close to the deal. So on those two, I'm not sure. Thuram and Giroud, again, if it was a loan and it made sense financially for United, then you know what? United are assessing every single option that they can, because Erik ten Hag has made it clear that forward is a priority, but he has always said it has to be the right player. Be that player for 6 months or a long term. Now, I've said, it's more likely to be in the loan market, but you know what? Just say, I'm not going to ever rule it out. You can't ever tell in a transfer window, but if one of United's long-term targets did become available in January, and United decided, they're going to go for it, then, it will come out of the summer budget, but Erik ten Hag would then get the player that he wanted. So I think United are going to be really careful how they approach this window. They don't want to be ripped off, particularly on a loan deal. I mean, people just say, it's a loan deal, it's a no-brainer. How much is it going to cost? Well, we've seen that even for a loan deal, João Felix would cost, how the amount that some permanent players would cost. You're talking about a £19 million commitment for 6 months. So, you know what? United definitely in the market. It looks likely that it will be a loan if, and it's a big if, anyone was to come in.
I'm sure, as always, you'll be keeping us posted, even if it's on transfer deadline day. We always have the updates. I just want to ask you quickly about Frenkie de Jong, because this is a story that just doesn't seem to go away. Obviously, we don't expect him to come in the January transfer window. Do you think that he will end up at Manchester United eventually? Because it's obvious that Erik ten Hag's a big fan. He knows him from Ajax, and there's been, these rumours and reports about Manchester United and him, and there was, reports of a bid in the summer, and it looked at one point like it was going to happen. Do you think eventually we'll see Frenkie de Jong at Old Trafford in a United shirt?
Goodness me, I didn't think I'd have to mention his name.
Sorry, I bet you're sick. Right. I bet you're sick of it, aren't you?
I said his name every single day in the summer, and it was a long summer.
You're not alone.
Look, it's clear that Erik ten Hag loves Frenkie de Jong, and it's clear that he was the player that he saw as being the centerpiece of what he's trying to do at Manchester United. But look, when it didn't happen, I was kind of suspecting, are they going to go into the loan market? Are they going to try something else? And they just went all out and they got Casemiro. And some people were questioning that at the time. I don't think they're questioning it now.
No.
And I think it's another reason why a lot of United fans are just saying, oh, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right thing to do? You know what? If Erik ten Hag says it's the right thing to do, then you know what? It is the right thing to do. As far as Frenkie de Jong is concerned, I think there will always be that interest in him, simply because how much they tried to sign him in the summer. And you know what? Ten Hag knows him, played under him at Ajax, as you mentioned, knows him really, really well. Let's see what happens in the summer. It's worth keeping an eye on what happens at Barcelona as well. It's interesting that United have drawn Barcelona in that playoff. You knew it was going to happen, didn't you?
Yeah.
When Barcelona fell into the Europa League. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because that financial state of Barcelona is a real interesting situation. And some reports that I've heard was all these levers that they triggered to increase more money coming into the club could have been based on them having a bigger run in the Champions League. They've not got knocked out in the group stages, which will not have helped their financial situation. And I just wonder what that will do come the summer, and whether someone like Frenkie de Jong or anyone else will be put up for sale. Because what Barcelona will not want to do, and I think that's why there was all this talk about Frenkie de Jong in the summer, is Pedri and Gavi are the two crown jewels at that club, because they've been brought up at that football club. And those are the two that they will not want to release. But if they are forced into doing business on other players, Frenkie de Jong could be one of those. Then you're going to look at other clubs who will be interested in Frenkie de Jong as well, because it won't just be Manchester United. I don't think it will be a one-horse race for Frenkie de Jong come the summer, because there are so many clubs who are after midfielders, but there are only a few midfielders who you'd say are in that elite bracket. You know, we keep talking about the same names, don't we? Enzo Fernandez, Jude Bellingham, Moise Caicedo as well. Frenkie de Jong could be in that bracket as well. So many clubs going for what looks like not so many players. So it'd be interesting to see what happens on Barcelona's financial situation and what United think and what United's budget will be come the summer.
Yeah, it's a strange one at Barcelona. Like you say, with all those levers, and they kept pulling levers and just producing this money. It'll be interesting.
I don't even know what that levers was until...
No, I never heard that before. It's like,
summer, I know.
Yeah, they pulled another lever and now they've got another 100 million or something. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
What is this? Just finally, Dharmesh, before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you about outgoings this summer. This January at Manchester United. There's been a couple of suggestions that maybe someone like Harry Maguire even could end up leaving in the window. Do you see Manchester United selling any players or releasing any players this window, or do you think they might have to wait till the summer?
I mean, one's already left, hasn't he? Martin Dubravka.
Yeah, he recalled. Recalled back to Newcastle.
So just on that, I think one of the priorities will be to bring in a goalkeeper for Manchester United, and Jack Butland is one of the players that they are looking at. One source has told Sky Sports News actually that talks have already started with Crystal Palace with regard to Jack Butland. Might be a deal that would be, good for all parties, only because Butland's only got 6 months left on his contract. Palace might see this as the last opportunity that they can get money for him during this transfer window. So that could be a possibility. There was also talk of Jan Sommer, wasn't there?
Yeah.
During the summer, a goalkeeper from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And that didn't materialize in the summer. I'm told that's not going to happen in January. He's only got 6 months left on his contract. And there's even talk now that he could be on his way to Bayern Munich. So the forthcoming summer, even if United were interested in summer, I don't think it will be, he'll be coming to United. Looks like he's going to Bayern Munich, but it will also all depend, the goalkeeping situation, on David De Gea's future. His contract is up in the summer. He's got a 1-year option that the club, I'm not aware that they've triggered just yet, but apparently talks are underway over a new longer-term contract. That's going to be the big decision, the next big decision you'd think for Erik ten Hag, if he sees David De Gea as the long-term goalkeeper, to be able to do all of the things that he would want a goalkeeper to do. So that is definitely one to keep an eye on in the next few months. One other potential departure, which was looking likely in the summer and was kind of looking likely last month, was Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But since the World Cup, when Diogo Dalot wasn't fully fit, he started all 4 games as Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the Carabao Cup and the 3 league games. Manchester United have won all of those games. They've kept a clean sheet. And if someone had told you the first goal that Manchester United are going to score after the World Cup break was going to be from Christian Eriksen with an assist from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I don't think many people would have believed you. And I think that also epitomizes another thing that Erik ten Hag seems to be doing. He's bringing the best out of players, even like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who a lot of United fans were thinking, yeah, he's a good defender, but is he what we need with regard going forward? Because he doesn't seem to have the qualities that a right back in the modern day game has when you're playing Premier League football. And yet, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he's impressed everyone, including the manager. And I think that might have changed Erik ten Hag's mind, because I think United were doing due diligence on a lot of right backs during this transfer window, including Celtic's Josip Juranovic. He was one that they were looking at, but it was all going to be dependent on Aaron Wan-Bissaka's future. There was interest in him. There still is interest in him. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but as it stands, I think United are in a kind of a win-win situation with Wan-Bissaka, because he's playing well, and a rejuvenated Wan-Bissaka can be one of two things. Can be a great option for Manchester United in competition with Diogo Dalot, or he could become a more attractive proposition to an interested club who want to bring in Wan-Bissaka in this transfer window. But as it stands, of the 3 areas that United are looking at, forward, goalkeeper, and right back, the right back, I'm told, as it stands, is the least of the priorities, simply because of Wan-Bissaka's form at the start of this month.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that. I thought, and it looked like Aaron Wan-Bissaka just. I mean, he couldn't even get on the pitch when Delors was suspended at one point. I think he preferred to play Malassa out position rather than give Aaron Wan-Bissaka a chance. And yet now we've seen, like you say, those last few games, been really impressed with him. And when he first arrived at Old Trafford, I liked Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Thought he had a good spell, and then things just didn't work out for him. So yeah, if he can maintain the form we've seen, then it seems almost like anyone is got a chance under Erik ten Hag. He seems to be getting a tune out of anyone, even players that you thought didn't have much of an opportunity. Dharmesh, it's always a pleasure chatting to you. I look forward to seeing you on the screens over the transfer period, especially the transfer deadline day. I'm sure you'll be dead busy, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be checking out what's happening, if there is any last minute moves from Manchester United or any of our rivals. And we appreciate all your support on the channel as well. And thanks for coming on again.
Pleasure, Jay. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
So a big thank you to Dharmesh Sheth from Sky Sports News. Lots of interesting points there. Looks like Felix isn't going to happen. Looks like Aaron Wan-Bissaka could be staying, but he did mention there about Manchester United looking at other striker options, even potentially looking at something a bit more permanent if the right striker became available and it was someone that the club would want and Erik ten Hag would want in the summer. Maybe that could happen in January. As always, though, we will keep you updated and posted with any developments with any of those transfer stories or any others. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can do it. This has been the Tier 1 Transfer Podcast with Dharmesh Sheth from Sky Sport News. I've been Jay Motti. Thanks for watching.